evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Indian Nation Station pregame show here live on the Indian Nation Station, Piqua Channel 5. I'm A.J. Ganger. With me tonight, Dwayne Bachman and Bob Luby. Guys, welcome back to the pregame show.
Good to be back for the big one with Sidney.
Nice to be here. Great night for football.
It is a great night for football. And again, we're here live from Alexander Stadium at Perk Field in beautiful Piqua, Ohio. Fans, remember that you can catch the replay of tonight's game starting at 5:30 p.m. on Monday with the game replay at 4:30 with the coach's show and 5 o'clock with our pregame. Also, don't forget that it'll be available on our YouTube page on Monday night at Monday afternoon, somewhere in the evening there. We normally put it up about the same time that it goes up on the station. Also, don't forget to check out our first ever soccer game. We were there this week. We had the Indians beating the Sydney Yellow Jackets in boys soccer for the first time in 17 years, 3-1. And you don't forget to check out our live stream, which is streaming 24/7. Guys, what do you think about the Indians beating the Yellow Jackets in soccer for the first time in 17?
Well, it's probably the best news we had for early in the week. Let's hope we've got one more bit yet tonight. But I was glad to see it. I didn't realize it had been so long, and to see the Indians conquer the Yellow Jackets in soccer made me feel very, very confident about this evening.
Great win for the soccer program.
Yeah, it was a really good win. You can watch that game again on our YouTube page. Guys, the remaining schedule for the Indians, we look like this. We got Sydney here tonight at homecoming. We were at Greenville next week. We've got the 12th, which is a Thursday night, against the Butler Aviators, which will also be on the Indian Nation Station. And we've got at Tip City on the 20th, and we're at Troy on the 27th. Guys, big remaining schedule, remaining 5 games. It's week 6. This is where we really get to the meat of the schedule. What do you guys think of this schedule coming up?
Well, I'll let Bob talk first because he has a little better handle on it, Bob. It looks to me like after tonight, things get a bit easier, if easy is the proper word.
I think so. Most of the teams that are remaining on our schedule are either 2-3 or 3-2, and they're pretty evenly balanced. Greenville and Butler have both won 2 games. Tip and Troy both won 3. So as we finish out the schedule, I think Piqua is going to be in all of those games. I don't think there's going to be a lot to worry about, maybe some concern, but I think Piqua matches up pretty well with the 4 remaining teams on the schedule.
And again, we have to remind our viewers that the Butler game, which will be on Channel 5, is going to be on a Thursday night rather than on a Friday night, and that ought to be a little bit unique, but we're looking forward to that as well.
And don't forget, guys, we'd like to thank our sponsors here this evening. It's Gonzo Radio, which is your home for Piqua Radio. Gonzo Radio, that's where radio listens to you. Unity National Bank, your hometown banking solution. Beppo Uno, Brownlee Way Realty, Piqua Harley Davidson, East of Chicago Pizza, SC Collectibles in the Miami Valley Center Mall, the Miami Valley Center Mall. Dick Lumpkins, if you've got a bump, go see Lump. Morris Heating and Cooling, Comfort Systems. Guys, all these sponsors out here supporting the Indian Nation Station, we'd like to thank them at this time. Scores from last week, week number 5 around the G-Walk. On Thursday night, we had Centerville beating Springboro 31-19 to improve to 5-0 on the season. Also, we had Beaver Creek beating Fairmont in that Titanic struggle, a 14-3 defensive battle, which was a really, really good game. Beaver Creek would end up taking a win, go to 5-0. Fairmont 4-1. Wayne and Northmont in double OT. Wayne pulled out the victory, 38-35. Troy in a shocking win against Miamisburg, 31-21 to go to 3-2 on the season, and Miamisburg fell to 3-2. Also, Tip City in a close win against the Fairborn Skyhawks, 23-21 to go to 3-2 on the year. Trotwood ran all over Greenville 59-0. Butler beat Stebbins 50-0. Springfield 33-11-14. Sydney shut out West Carrollton 1 touchdown better than Piqua did, and Piqua obviously beating Xenia. Guys, your thoughts on these games before we get into last week's game against Piqua and Xenia?
Well, there weren't too many surprises among all of those. Again, as I looked at it, I think the Beaver Creek Fairmont game probably was a little better game than the 14-3 final score.
Yeah.
And I tend to think that Beaver Creek is headed for the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about it. I think we have to keep our eye on Vandalia Bunker. They may be 2-3 after week 5, but be careful. And again, I thought Lebanon was going to be one of the better teams in the GWAC this year, and they continue to struggle at 2-3.
I was a little surprised of the Troy victory over Miamisburg. I'm not shocked, just a little surprised. I thought Miamisburg maybe was a little better.
It was a home game for the Vikings too.
Yeah, oh yeah. And Troy maybe has reached the point in this season where they're starting to play better.
Yeah.
And, you reach the midpoint of the year, and I always felt a team either starts getting better or they start getting worse. And in Troy's case, it looks like they are getting better.
Mm-hmm. Guys, another thing I want to point out here before we go in here is that National East standings right now in the GWAC. You've got Wayne, you've got Springfield, you got Wayne, Fairmont, Beaver Creek, and Centerville, all fighting for that top spot in the GWAC East. Guys, I mean, that is going to be one of the tough places to end up, playing, obviously.
Well, big game tonight. Centerville and Wayne go at it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be huge for many reasons. Places in the league standings and also for playoff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of points on the table there, and whoever wins that one's going to walk away with a lot of points.
Well, we get to the Xenia Piqua game for last week. Don't forget that is available on the Indian Nation Station YouTube page. Piqua beats Xenia 36-20 to go to 3-2 and drop in Xenia to 0-5. Guys, it was before we get into all the hoopla with the stats and everything, it seemed like Piqua had a very slow start. That first 2-3 quarters just really wasn't what we're used to seeing in Piqua football. Offense is struggling. Defense was struggling to stop the dive a lot of times. What is your guys' takeaway from the performance last week from Piqua before we get into some stats?
For me, it was very, very easy, and Bob Luby has said it time and time again. Sometimes the best coaching of the week takes place at the halftime of the game, and the adjustments that Piqua made at halftime, thanks to Bill Neese and his coaching staff, were the difference. I think they made some changes at the half, and as you mentioned, the first half was a little bit sluggy. The second half was all Piqua. I think the changes made at the half were the difference. And that, where that comes from? Awfully good coaching, what Piqua always has.
Yeah, it does.
Well, it was a tale of two halves. I would say Xenia played much better the first half. Piqua played much better the second half. Wells, the running back for Xenia, had a career night.
Yeah.
He rushed for 176 yards. He was all over the place. Piqua had a real difficult time, especially in the first half, shutting him down.
Yeah.
They just ran off tackle, pretty much ran where they wanted to, and the Indians struggled to shut down that running game. But in the second half, made some adjustments up front, and that was enough to curtail the Xenia running game.
I was really disappointed in Xenia's passing game. I know they had one of their top receivers on the injured list, but when you looked at their passing game, it left a great deal to be desired, and so that's what disappointed me the most. In fact, as I looked forward to that Xenia game, I thought it was going to be pretty close, but after looking at the ball game and watching the replay, there was no doubt in my mind that if Piqua and Xenia played 5 times, Piqua was going to win all 5 games.
And Xenia, they're struggling. They haven't won a football game this year. Scored a lot of points, got a lot of yardage, but they cannot do what it takes to put the tighten the bolts on the defense and pull out a victory.
Well, guys, you said Sincere Wells had a career day last week, rushing for 33 times, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. The only other real stat that we could give out was the 107 kick return yards from Burnett and a touchdown on that kickoff return right after Piqua was scored to put them back in the lead. Austin Davis, I think he had a really good game, mostly in the second half. 10 of 19, 164 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. He also had a rush for 6 yards. Davon Brown, only 56 yards, but he ran it 14 times. Ben Smeezing had a really good game, probably his best game he's played all season long. 12 rushes, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 catches for 18 and a touchdown. So guys, Hayden Shrub had the 3 catches for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns as well. Overall, it was a good performance offensively, but again, it only was really that good in the second half.
Well, I think that's very, very true. But again, I think the better athletes prevailed. I think we wore them down a little bit, and again, they turned it over a couple times. And again, I think that second half pretty much tells the story of that ball game. And like Bob said, that second half was pretty much dominated by the Indians, and there's no denying that the best team won. That usually happens anyway.
Bob, what are your thoughts on this team?
On
the game.
On the game. Well, I was a little disappointed we gave up 222 rushing yards to Xenia. Usually if you give up that many rushing yards, you're probably going to have a tough time winning the football game.
Yeah.
But Piqua was able to accumulate 294 total yards to Xenia's 224 yards total yards. So, that was enough to offset that difference in rushing. But, again, tale of two halves. The Indians outplayed them in the second half, and that's what it takes to win a football game.
All right, now that we go into, one final thought from you guys on this game last week. What did you like, and what do you guys hope for the Indians to improve coming into a big one tonight?
Well, I think basically it's going to come down to the passing game. I really believe that Austin Davis is going to have to put it in the air. He's going to have to put it in the air successfully. And, of course, you can't have a passing game without a running game. So I think it's a combination of the two. And, again, if we can play as well tonight as we played the second half against Xenia and play the good defense, then I tend to think Piqua's going to come away with a victory. But it's going to be all about the passing game of Austin Davis and the running game of Davon and Ben.
Obviously, the Indians are going to have to curtail Isaiah Bowser, leading rusher in the conference, just an outstanding football player. He is going to Northwestern University. He's offered, and he verbal to them. I can't say he's going. He verbal to them. Outstanding football player. Runs with speed, runs with power, can cause a defense a lot of problems. The Indians have to keep him somewhat under control. He's going to get some yards, that's a given, but they can't allow him to continually get big play after big play after big play.
We've seen sometimes with this Piqua offense, or defense, I should say, that they're a little sketchy sometimes when it comes to stopping the run.
Well, and you look at Bowser's numbers. He's rushed for almost 1,500 yards. You divide that by 5, that's 300 yards a game.
Yeah,
he gets 300 yards a game tonight. That's going to put some real pressure on the Piqua offense, because that's going to convert to touchdowns. So Bowser is good. Let's not forget the quarterback, Gordon. Alec Gordon is an awfully good player. A lot of talent, maybe a better basketball player than football player, but he can both run and pass. And it's going to take the A game for Piqua tonight to pull this one out. I think they can do it.
And I think Piqua's offense is better than Sidney's defense.
Yeah, for sure.
Sidney has struggled this year defensively. I think they're 17th in the league ranked defensively. So they give up a lot of points. Piqua can score a lot of points. It's going to be, will Piqua be able to offset the work that Bowser does to win the football game? And Bowser can cause you problems running the football, catching it. They like to dump pass to him out of the backfield. Yeah. And he's a kick return man, kickoffs. And for some reason, Piqua has struggled defending kickoffs. And you always hope that you can kick away from that particular return man. But sometimes, depending on your kicker, how accurate he is, how he can place the football in a certain position on the field. So, again, we'll find that out tonight.
Well, again, as you look at the Xenia game, Xenia, they didn't look extremely competent, but they put 45 points on the board against Sidney. And after Xenia, in my estimation, didn't do much offensively most of the night, if you could put 45 points against Sidney, that means there's problems in the Sidney defense, and those are problems that Bill Neeson's been dealing with all week. And if there's some problems on the defense, Bill Neeson's going to find them. But it's all going to be a matter of whether Sidney's defense comes up to the floor, because they do appear vulnerable.
Well, listen to this, guys. Sidney allows an average of 392 yards per game.
Wow.
That's a lot of yards. Now, St. Mary's gained 402 yards on them. Bell Fountain had 554 yards. Xenia had 596.
Wow.
And even Carroll, who they beat pretty handily, Carroll had 219. Now, West Carrollton, they're not going to get much yardage against anybody.
Yeah.
So I won't even mention their totals. But that's a lot of yards to give up. St. Mary's rushed for 275 yards. Bell Fountain rushed for 234 yards. And get this, Xenia rushed for 505 yards against the Sidney defense.
I mean, even Piqua gave up 222. I mean, that's a lot, but that's not even half of what Sidney gave up.
Well, and I think that's the point to be made, that if you're going to give up that many yards, you're going to give up a lot of touchdowns.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Again, the teams that scored all those yards against the Sidney beat them.
Yeah.
And that was the point that also has to be making. But if they give up 500 yards tonight, they're going to take the battered helmet and bring it to the Piqua locker room right after the last quarter.
Yeah, that's, very well said, guys. Well, before we get more detailed into this Sidney game here tonight, let's take a look at Week 6 GWalk games here around the GWalk. Tip City, 3-2 in a big GWalk North battle against Troy tonight. Butler is taking on Greenville. Trotwood is 5-0, taking on a 1-4 West Carrollton team. Xenia 0-5, looking for their first win of the season. Still, they're hungry for it. Let's hope they can get it tonight against Springfield, who is 4-1. Beaver Creek 5-0 against a 1-4 Springboro team. The big game Bob mentioned earlier, Centerville 5-0. Wayne 4-1 at Huber Heights. Wayne tonight. Fairmont's 4-1. Miamisburg 3-2. Northmont, a 3-2 team, is at Lebanon. And a game that happened last night, Fairborn shutting out Stebbins 38-0 to go to 2-4. Stebbins fell to 0-6. Guys, it's a big week here in the GWalk. Everyone's playing their GWalk divisional games. But let's get into this a little bit, guys. Which ones you looking out for the most?
I'm looking at the first one you have on the list, EJ, and that's Tip City and Troy. Both of them are 3-2. As Bob mentioned, he thinks Troy's playing better every week. They're 3-2. Tip City's 3-2. We've got them both on the schedule. That's the one I'm going to watch, because I think that's going to tell us a little bit about the final two games of the season for the Indians.
Out of our division, I mentioned it earlier, Centerville at Wayne, the battle of the two big boys in our league.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Wayne has a devilish schedule remaining. After they finish with Wayne, Centerville, they have Beaver Creek, who next week, Beaver Creek now is 5-0. They follow that with Fairmont, who's 4-1. Then Springfield, who's 4-1. And then at Trotwood, 5-0 right now.
Wow.
You talk about a tough schedule. A lot of points in those games right there. A lot of points.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on the line here when it comes to week number 6 and beyond, I would really have to say, and especially in that division. You got Centerville, Beaver Creek, Fairmont, Springfield, Wayne. You have all those teams in those divisions who are 4-1 or 5-0. I mean, that one's going to come down to, probably, in my mind, I don't think Wayne, if Wayne beats Centerville and Beaver Creek, they're going to fall somewhere along the line. I really think the games, that division title will be decided at the end of the year when Beaver Creek and Centerville have their famous rivalry matchup.
Well, you look at the computer rankings of the Division I teams in our region. Centerville's in the top spot. Wayne's number 3. Tie for 5th, Fairmont and Beaver Creek. 8th place, Springfield. 10th place, Northmont. 11th place, Miamisburg. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams out of the 11, top 11 in region. It's region 3, I think. Region 3, Division 1. Boy, that tells you a little bit about the football being played in that division.
And AJ, if you're a betting man, Don't bet on any of those teams going to the playoffs or not going to the playoffs. That baby's up for grabs.
It is.
And I think number 11, Miamisburg, might be number 11 now. If they could win out, they might be up there among the first 8. That particular region, in my estimation, is going to be a killer for somebody, and we're going to have a couple teams maybe from that region who are not going to make the playoffs, who are going to be better than some of the other teams, other divisions that got teams of equal size. Some of the best teams in the state might be right there. Not all of them are going to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I mean, obviously the top 8 in each region will end up going to the playoffs as well. Piqua's got some work to do right now. They're at number 19 right now. Sidney's a lock in Division 2 at number 4, at least for the moment. But like we said, that could all change. Guys, we're going to get into our Coaches Show segment now. Tonight is a rivalry game between Piqua and Sidney. Earlier this week during the Coaches Show, Chip Hare and Bill Neese talked about how their players react to the feel of a rivalry game.
From the rivalry perspective, we've talked about this through the years. The Sidney game is big in a lot of ways for Sidney, for the Piqua, I should say the Piqua game for Sidney has always been big. For our kids, it has grown that they have seen that, hey, this game matters, not just normal, but they know that this is a different magnitude for the battered helmet. It's a series that Piqua we've owned very well. Again, like you said, the last couple of years, they have started to turn that around. Of course, we win last year at their place. From our kids' perspective, what do you see that's any different in terms of the energy level that our kids have for this ball?
Well, they're receptive, to any type of, any type of rivalry, anything. The great thing about this team is you can just, say, hey, 2 weeks ago, hey, we're playing for the 2-2 trophy. And there was like, yeah, hey, 2-2 trophy, and they pick up on it and go. So something like this that's real is amazing. They embrace it. They want to participate in it. They want to do well. They know people are going to be here. Eyes are going to be on you. We'll probably have the TV crews out here again, like we had for Trotwood, like we had for Franklin. So it's something that you embrace. It's something that you want to use as a motivator. Everybody can always use a little extra, energy source, a little extra motivation, and why not?
You guys, Coach Neese made a good point, and so did Chip there, where it seems like the energy of the guys in the locker room, they know it's important. He talked about the fact that you could have told this team that they're playing for any kind of trophy. You could have went out there and said we're playing for the 2-2 trophy, and that they would have been excited. Yeah, let's go win something. And I think that because tonight they're playing for the battered helmet, that they're going to come out fired up. Any kind of rivalry game, these Piqua Indians, they seem to show up pretty well.
Well, Bob Luby has said it many times. If you can't get them up for the Sidney game, you might as well not even get the uniform on, because there is going to be a lot of excitement in the stadium. There's going to be a lot of excitement in the stands. This is the big. Let's face it. Look at what Piqua played 5 games. We haven't had 300 people across the way for any of them. That's going to change tonight. Sidney's going to bring a mob of people, and this is excitement. This is what high school football is all about.
Bob?
Fully agree with that statement. Somebody once asked me, how would you motivate your kids to get them ready for either Troy or Sidney? I said, as a coach, if you have to motivate them to get ready for one of those games, you're in trouble. They should self-motivate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to play that game, you'll never be ready to play any game.
I agree with you guys. Tonight, it's the 122nd meeting between Piqua and Sidney. Piqua leading the series 77-38 and 6. Tonight is a big game in the G-Walk North, not only for playoff contention, but it's also a shot at winning the coveted G-Walk North Championship and the battle for the battered helmet. That's right, the battered helmet. It takes place tonight here at Alexander Stadium. It's Piqua 3-2, looking to end the winning streak of Sidney, who is 5-0, but their winning streak is now 6 going back to last season. Last year, it was Piqua 33, Sidney 13 when the clock hit triple zeros. The atmosphere in the stadium tonight is going to be electric, but not only in the stadium. There's just something in the air tonight for this contest.
It's the first time, the last time.
we get out of here after that great promo video we just saw, give me your guys' thoughts on tonight's game, Piqua versus Sidney, and the magnitude of it. What does this game mean to you guys?
I'll let Bob go first.
Well, hey, it's obviously important to me. I was an assistant coach here for years and been an employee in the system. So whenever you play Sidney, it's an attention getter. I believe it's going to be I believe there'll be a lot of points on the board.
Yep.
I think both teams will score. Just a question of who's going to score the most. And I don't think it'll be a single-digit scoreboard watching thing. I think you're going to see a lot of points go up there. I think it's going to be Piqua's ability to keep Bowser from having a lot of big plays.
Yeah.
They'll have to make him work for his yardage. And, he's a deep man on the kickoff team. You can't allow him to rip off a 90-yard kickoff return. He catches passes out of the backfield. You have to slow him down because he's got good speed. When he gets the football, he's a threat. And Piqua's defense, it has to be a team defense. All 11 are going to have to find the football and get to that point of attack because he'll run through tackles. He's a good runner. He's a strong runner. He uses his stiff arm. He's a slashing type runner. He does everything you'd want a good runner to do. So, again, big chore for Piqua. But I think Piqua can outscore them because of Sidney's defense. I think it leaks oil sometimes.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we have to think about might be the area of turnovers. Had a few turnovers last week. Most of them were against Senior, fortunately for us. But you can't afford to turn the ball over against the Sidney bunch. And again, like Bob said, this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see 30 or 40 points needed to win this one. Wouldn't that be exciting? The people in the stands will go crazy. And talking about how big this game is, it's 25 till 6 in real time, and we've got people coming in to get a seat for this game. We haven't had that in the first 5 weeks, I can assure you. That tells you that Sidney's in town.
It's going to be a great atmosphere. We've got homecoming here tonight as well. Guys, in homecoming games in the past, what has been your guys' experience with the crowd, with the feel of the game? You followed this team for so many years. Tell me what you guys have experienced in the past when it comes to not only homecoming games, but Piqua and Sidney games.
Well, it's kind of hard to describe because it's like Bob says, everybody is enthused. Not only those people on the Piqua side, but we're going to have people on the Sidney side who are coming in tonight thinking that they're 3-2, we're 5-0. We got Bowser, we got Gordon. We're going to make this easy. I don't think that's going to happen. But as far as excitement is concerned, there's going to be a lot of it tonight. I don't think you can afford to get behind by 2 touchdowns. Playing catch-up might be hard, even in spite of the fact that there's going to be a lot of points on the board. And don't turn the ball over. If you can keep Bowser to 200 yards, you're going to win it.
Yeah.
200, just 200?
That's holding him down a little bit,
yeah.
What he's used to. I think an important thing to mention that hasn't maybe been mentioned by us too much is the importance of the kicking game. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago down here, Piqua lost to Sidney on a field goal.
Right.
Sidney had a real strong kicker. He drilled a field goal. Close game makes a huge difference. And I think that could be a factor in the results of tonight's game. So, again, goes back to mistakes. No mistakes on special teams. You have to control those kinds of things in a game matchup like this. And, homecoming, you want to keep your players away from becoming emotionally involved in that because, you don't want them thinking about the dance in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And what I'm going to do after homecoming. They have to focus. Now, everybody else, sure, it's a good time, fun time. But football players, one thing, beat Sidney tonight and then have a good time. People always say, well, I just want my team to have a good time. I've always said, when we have a good time
is when we beat Sidney.
When the game's over and we have more points than they do. That's when you have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. Before we get out of here, let's give one more thanks to all of our sponsors here on the Indian Nation Station. Gonzo Radio, America's Best Choice Windows and More, Miami Valley Steel, East of Chicago Pizza, Morris Heating and Cooling Comfort Systems, Mulligan's Pub, Dick Lumpkin's Body Shop, Piqua Harley Davidson, Unity National Bank, the Miami Valley Center Mall right here in Piqua, Going Postal, SC Collectibles in the Miami Valley Center Mall, Beppo Uno, and Brownlee Way Realty. Guys, let's get you guys up to the press box. Let's get ready for this game tonight. Again, we want to thank everybody for joining us for the Indian Nation Station pregame show here live on the Indian Nation Station, Channel 5. It's your home for Piqua Athletics. For Bob and Dwayne, I'm AJ Ganger saying good night, go Indians, and beat Sydney.